Hey everybody, it's Garrett from @GoWithGarrett. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 3 ideas for how to create your own DIY wall art using joint compound. Before we get into the video, please make sure you are subscribed to my channel. I share affordable DIYs, home decor, and other home-related content right here on my channel, and I would love to have you join me. Now, without further ado, let's get into these projects. For these projects, you're going to need some canvas boards. I got these canvas value packs from Michael's Artist Loft collection. You'll of course need some joint compound. I got this from Lowe's for just under $10. And you'll also want to have an applicator tool of some sorts. I'm using this putty knife that I happen to have at home. We'll also be using various paint colors that you can get at any craft store. I got these from Michael's. We'll be using some FrogTape to create different patterns. And for more intricate detailing and designs, we'll use a piping bag that can be found in a cake decorating kit. First things first, we are going to open up our canvases and start to apply a generous layer of joint compound onto the surface of each canvas that we'll be using. That way we'll have more of a textured foundation to then build on, as opposed to just the flat kind of porous surface of the canvases. And you definitely want to be generous with your application here, because we want to make sure that the entire surface is covered. And honestly, the more texture, the better. It gives it more character when it starts to crack and you have these different patterns within the joint compound itself. Once our canvases are dried, it's time to start with our first project. And so I grabbed a pencil and started to draw a random kind of free-handed pattern of squiggly lines. And here is a picture that I found on Pinterest for inspiration. So we're kind of going for a beginner's version of that. Next, I grabbed my piping bag and I put this metal tip insert into it in order to have a more controlled flow whenever I get ready to pipe the joint compound over these lines here. I carefully scooped some joint compound into the piping bag. Once that was ready, I was able to very carefully go over the lines that I had already drawn with the joint compound. Now, of course, this does not have to be perfect. I think if it is a little messy, it gives it more character, but I did go back through with a paper clip and tried to clean up the lines a little, and then I added a second layer. Once that was fully dried, I grabbed this hunter green matte acrylic paint from Michael's and started to just pour it all over the top of the canvas, because we are going to completely cover this and give it a monochromatic look. And just like that, this one is complete. I think we did a pretty good job of emulating the inspo pic. For our next project, we're going to be starting with some frog tape in order to create a checkered pattern. So in order to do that, I am going to tear off a strip of the frog tape and very carefully apply it to the very bottom of the canvas. And then from there, I will continue to cover the entire canvas from top to bottom. Then I'm going to go back and remove that first piece of tape and every other piece of tape all the way to the top. I repeated that same process, but going from left to right and using vertical strips of tape, covering the whole front side of the canvas and then removing that first piece and then every other piece going all the way across. Somehow my camera did not record the next step, but I used the remainder of the joint compound in the piping bag to apply big globs of it within each square. And then I used this palette knife to go through and kind of flatten it out, smooth it out a little, but still leave a lot of texture. And then while it was still wet, I went ahead and removed the strips of FrogTape because I was not sure how it would have worked once it had all dried on top of the tape and how messy that might have been. But as you can see, it reveals an asymmetrical checkered pattern. I love the textured squares with the clean edges. I took this black satin finished spray paint by Rust-Oleum to give this piece a nice good coating, and that completes this project. For our third project, we're going to be starting off with some matte acrylic paint by Folk Art from Michaels. This is the vintage white color. And I'm just going to start pouring that all over the canvas because I want to give the foundation of this piece a little bit of a different color so that what we put on top of it will stand out a little more. Once that dries, you can see it has a little bit more of a vintage vibe with this almost beige color. And from there, I'm going to use this palette knife and start to scoop some of the joint compound onto the back or the bottom of the knife in order to press the compound into the palette and start to create what should look like flower petals. As I completed each flower, I also put a dollop of joint compound into the middle in order to create that center piece of the flower. I also incorporated a few freestanding petals scattered throughout this piece as well. After that was totally dry, I went back in with this yellow matte acrylic paint, also by Craftsmart from Michaels, and painted the middle section of each of the flowers in order to make them pop a little more, give them a little more character and dimension. I want to give a shout out to @LifestyleJessica. I found the inspiration for this one from her Pinterest and YouTube video. I really love how this one turned out. Alright everybody, that wraps up this video. I hope you enjoyed these. Let me know which one was your favorite in the comments. Mine, I would have to say, is probably the green squiggly lines one, this one right here. Before you head out, please make sure you are subscribed to my channel. I would love to have you here. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.